We had a discussion on the way back today, and you brought something up I think that the public should know. We spoke about Malachi Martin.
He was a friend of mine.
Yes, and I certainly worked with him also. We were going to do a video because he felt that the real terms of La Salette were never given.
True.
And you indicated something to me. Can we expound on that just a little bit?
I know one line, not more than that. I know there's one line in the message of La Salette, and I have the confirmation about that via telephone. It might have been Malachi Martin, you see, who told me that, because we actually had several talks on the telephone. And there is one line that I know of in the message of La Salette that has been censored universally. I cannot, in good conscience, say who was the one who censored it. I cannot say it was the Pope or the Cardinals. I believe it was a Pope. And again, I do not know which one. So let's leave that question. The line that was censored was that Our Lady said that in the coming century or the 20th century, that I don't remember. I remember literally the quotation, there will be deux papes vermoulus, en français. Two worm-ridden popes. Deux papes vermoulus. You speak French?
Oui, je parle français un petit peu.
Ah, bien. Deux papes vermoulus.
C'est ça, oui.
Two worm-ridden popes. Your next question should be, who were those two worm-ridden popes? We have such a great choice. I positively, in all justice, I positively exclude John Paul I. Positively. One of my best friends in all the 15 years that I spent in Rome was Cardinal Pericle Felici, who was one of the closest friends that Albino Luciani, John Paul I, ever had. John Paul I was certainly not an Orthodox Catholic. No way. John Paul I made quite a few statements, including a very interesting fictional correspondence with a Satanist author of the 19th century, which is quite a puzzlement to those who know that man. I'm talking about Bossuet. But John Paul II is certainly not what you would call a pape vermoulu, a worm-ridden pope. Because when you study the history of the Church, and I'm not talking again about that poor Pope Liberius, who is always used as the scapegoat for all accusations against the Church. I'm talking about people like the above-mentioned Paul IV, who was a paranoid maniac. When you go into the close history of Pope Paul IV, the way he treated cardinals, like he had them arrested without explaining to them why they were arrested. He would call an English cardinal, this is a fact, he would call an English cardinal into his audience. I mean, that English cardinal was expecting to face the Pope and say, "Hi, Your Holiness." And instead, two doors were opened. He was led into a huge hall. There the English cardinal stood and didn't know what to do. Bang! The doors shut behind him. Another two doors opened. Two Swiss guards arrived and arrested him. He asked, "What's the matter? What's happening to me?" "Oh, we don't know. We've just been ordered to arrest you." The guy was in prison until Paul IV... The cardinal. The cardinal was in prison until Paul IV died. So we've had quite a few interesting specimens of the human race on the papal throne. And we have had Alexander VI. Alexander VI not only, which is something understandable to every man in the world, not only had children, but Alexander VI had children while he was Pope. Worse than that, he abused his papal authority to legitimize his daughter Lucretia. This is, I think, by far the worst. Hilaire Belloc says that the very moment that Alexander VI legitimized his physical daughter, he was ridiculing the priesthood. Celibacy is not of the essence of priesthood, but it's intimately connected with priesthood. And he ridiculed this by legitimizing his own daughter. So we have had quite a few interesting characters in the papacy. And I don't see a reason why Our Lady would bother to call somebody like Luciani, Albino Luciani, John Paul I, a Pape Vermoulu. Now, if we go into the Sedevacantist theory, which is, again, I say, a very daring theory, because we are the ones who have the proof, who have to have the proof for it, and not the Pope. See, in the Church, you're not allowed to utter a suspicion unless you have at least some high probability or proof. And yet, there's hundreds of people running around, especially in this country, who say that we haven't had a Pope, and then they can't even decide since when. We haven't had. I received a letter a couple of years ago that told me that Pius X was not a Pope.
Oh.
He was the anti-Pope because he reformed the breviary. So, well, probably the next time I'm going to hear that Pope Linus was not a Pope and Peter was the first and last Pope. See, it's all absurd because you have to have definite proof. Did Hillary Clinton cease to be president when she betrayed the Constitution? No. So, the same thing is true here. But for argument's sake, let's say we have not had a Pope since 1958. Who were the Pape Vermoulu? Pius XI, with his terrible mistake of instituting the Catholic Action, and Pius XII with changing Holy Week? Hey, see, there you are. That's one of the things that the Society of St. Pius X absolutely hates about Father Hesse, that I dare to even utter the most remote criticism about Pope Pius XII. As if he was untouchable. He's not. Alexander VI was as much Pope as Pius XII, and he was not untouchable. You shouldn't confuse dogma with judgment. And so who are the Pape Vermoulu? Is it true what they say that in 1986 with Assisi, John Paul II ceased to be Pope, so the deux Pape Vermoulu would either be John Paul II and Paul VI, or Paul VI and John the 23rd, or John the 23rd and Pius XII, or Pius XII and Pius XI? Hey, wait a second. Our Lady said there's going to be deux Pape Vermoulu, two worm-ridden popes. My personal guess, don't say Father Hesse dogmatically pronounces that this is such. My personal educated guess, guess, is that the deux Pape Vermoulu were Paul VI and John Paul II. But let's wait for the next one. I think we're in for a treat.